UFOs, monsters, mysteries. You're listening to Talking Weird. And now, from a cabin deep in the Northwoods, your hosts, Dr. Dean Bertram and Jenn Durrell.
Well, hey, baby.
Hey, baby.
I had a big bang in the background then. So
like sorry.
the ghost of July past or something.
That was my drink, I think.
Yeah, probably. It's the third Saturday night of July. I always mark my summer disappearing by July Saturday night. So as they creep by, I'm like, man, this summer's going too fast.
Yeah.
It always feels, it feels like when you hit that last Saturday night in July, summer's, it's gone almost.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still summer, so that's the bright side. How was work today? Have we got any quick haunted location tales from this week? I think there's been some activity at your workplace. Yeah,
it's kind of bumped up a little bit, but I kind of think it had a lot to do with the full moon this week. So I will just focus on one big one because I've had several. So this week I had my first hand apparition.
Whoa.
It kind of took me back because I was in the middle of giving a tour and I was kind of pointing out something in a closet. And this is the side of this portion of the lodge is considered like a Victorian style cottage home. So the bedrooms are really small and they share a closet. So I'm pointing out a picture and randomly this phantom hand comes out of the side of the closet and kind of just gently points to this picture, like pay attention, this picture right here, as if they're joining in on the tour. And I was taken back from it. And when we do experience odd things, we try to not show it in our face. We'll just kind of stop for a second and then just continue with the tour. So once I was finished with my little spiel on that one, I went next to the bedroom check and the closet door was open. So I thought for sure one of the guests had, opened it up. And I asked and no one had been in it, supposedly. But either way, if someone had, it just doesn't make any sense how they would have to move the drapes and then randomly put their hand in. There wasn't an arm. It was just this portion of a hand. And it was weird.
That's like something out of a Victorian horror story or a Victorian haunted house tale or something. Just a disembodied hand floating through the air, or an old spiritual medium or something.
Yeah, like Evil Dead. The part with the hand where they cuts it off. Sorry. But at least it wasn't doing that. It's just helping me with the tour and pointing to the picture. So
a friendly, helpful, disembodied spiritual hand.
I guess so. I don't know how that happens, but it did. It's our first. We have our own little log now of our odd happenings. So I made sure that one was written down.
Goes to show there's a lot going on in a location where there's an actual logbook to record the haunted incidents in. Yeah,
I mean, a lot is residual, but some things we're just not too sure about. So we definitely want to log it. So.
I think we just worked out the first question for our guest today, and that is if they either of them ever seen a disembodied spirit hand. There you go.
Or an question, either way.
And speaking of our guests, Christopher Kai is a film and television producer located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He brings decades of experience with him to the horror community as the director of the Milwaukee Twisted Dreams Film Festival, which is currently celebrating its 7th year in 2022. He is also the producer and director of Dr. Destruction's Crimson Theater, the longest running horror host show in Wisconsin, celebrating 21 consecutive years on over-the-air TV. And of course, regular, I suppose listeners know how big a fan I am of Dr. Destruction. I've always loved it when I've been able to go on his and Chris's show, which is actually called Area 1051, which Chris co-hosts with the good doctor on WLAP 1050 AM in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Chris is also the winner of the 2017 Pacesetter Award, granted by the Milwaukee Independent Film Society for his tireless work in promoting and helping independent film. Our other guest, Tom, graduated summa cum laude with a degree in neuropsychology and hosts Off the Rails podcast, the Hot Seat podcast, and Movies with Mark. He also co-hosts with Christopher the Pop Culture podcast, which they very kindly had me on in the past, and was a great show. I had a lot of fun doing that. And he's a co-producer of the Twisted Dreams Film Festival. So I'm delighted to welcome to the show tonight's guests, Christopher Kai House and Tom Klein.
Why would you finish with me?
Oh.
Why would you finish with the podcast guy? Yeah, I got everything, Kristen. You wrap it up with me.
Well, I mean, in fairness, you got the neuropsychology degree and the summa cum laude credit, so that's a pretty big little feather in the cap, Tom.
All right, well.
And greetings to you both too. It's wonderful to finally have you on. I've been meaning to get you on for so long.
Hello, thanks for having us.
Hey, thanks.
You want to tell the good doctor who the Mark is in the movies with Mark?
Oh, that would be Mark Metcalf. We do it with old Niedermeyer from Seinfeld, or Niedermeyer from Animal House. He was the maestro in Seinfeld.
Oh, wow.
Master and Buffy the Vampire. He was in a couple Twisted Sister videos.
And where do people check that out? What day does that drop, or where do they go to see it or listen to it?
Look at Movies with Mark. Just search that up. You'll find it. Movies with Mark podcast. We have a good time.
At the end, we'll make sure you guys can throw out several of your URLs because you've both got so many things going on. So for our listeners and viewers who want to catch up with you, but I know Jen has
all the other crap. Just worry about Twisted Dreams and.
I'm sure you're going to want to promote your OnlyFans. So we'll got a shout out
there.
I didn't know you had one. You're going to have a new subscriber as soon as this episode finishes. I'm going to head on over to that site, Tom. Now, I know Jen had the first question, though, because we talked about it in the intro.
Oh, yes. So have any of you experienced any kind of odd apparitions?
I have, yeah. I've been a paranormal investigator for a while now, and I've been to some of the most reportedly haunted locations in the world. If a TV show's been there, I've been there. And I've experienced some really weird things. Have I ever seen an apparition? No, I haven't. I haven't seen anything. I've heard things, and I've seen shadows and things that I can't quite explain. I'm waiting for the day that I actually do see like a full body apparition, to quote Ghostbusters. But I haven't yet. I'm trying. I'm really trying.
Yeah.
Well, Chris is a paranormal investigator, and that's actually how we met. He was investigating our podcast studio, which is famously haunted in Grafton, and I was having a lot of problems at my house, and we got a lady in white there that I've seen twice. Full body.
Tom has seen a full body apparition.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Do you know the story behind it? Have you researched any of it?
Yeah, there are. Supposedly, it's the first lady who lived there, owned the property. Her husband died. I guess her name's Emma, according to the psychics that were there. She does not like my girlfriend because she has tattoos and we're not married. And she lets me. Yeah.
That's.
So that makes the ghost mad, but tough because Daddy.
What kind of stuff have you guys used when you've been out there looking for things or trying to pinpoint if there's, apparitions or if the place is haunted? Do you have specific equipment or specific techniques or go-to methods? Or
mostly EVP sessions. I use a Zoom digital recorder. I don't use like K2 meters or spirit boxes. I don't really believe in those. I don't think they're very helpful for investigations. I'll use just a good old digital recorder. I have a EMP meter. I check for electromagnetic waves because high frequency electromagnetic waves are known to cause your brain to kind of go haywire. Like if you think about it, what's the one thing everybody has right next to their bed, like 2 feet away from your brain.
Oh,
You've
yeah.
got an alarm clock, and especially like an old 1970s alarm clock, those give off crazy EMF signals, just crazy amounts. And people are waking up seeing night with night terrors, seeing shadow people in the corner of their bedroom wall. And a lot of times it's just because that alarm clock is giving you really mixed signals in your brain. So, and another thing about the basement, a lot of people experience things in the basement. We're finding out that go down in your basement, look up, what do you see? Wires everywhere. Again, strong EMF signals.
Huh.
I kind of went on a tangent there. I didn't really answer.
No, I liked it. It's funny you were talking about the effect that electric signals have on the brain. Certainly, Michael Pessinger, I think, is the psychologist's name, who did the experiment with the God helmet, where he could essentially, zap people's brain with currents or with certain frequencies, and then he could elicit a paranormal type response. What I find fascinating now is people use that same technology in the paranormal field, thinking it lets them communicate with the spirit world. But Pessinger's case, he wasn't trying to prove that's how you communicated with it. He was trying to prove that this is how you fabricate that type of experience. Have you had any? What are your thoughts with that technology? Or have you ever used one of those or a God helmet?
No, I haven't. But I strongly believe that it's scientifically proven that that high electromagnetic frequencies can cause hallucinations, can cause your brain just to act weird. So, I truly believe in that. The God helmet. I wish I could get one. I don't know where to even start looking for something like that.
Well, I guess
Tom
the
could
way
probably
I would
build one in his basement.
I would explain it as your brain naturally never wants to be wrong. It will trick yourself into being right. And when you hit a certain frequency, I want to say a good way to look at it is your brain kind of lets down its defenses and kind of asks for okay, just give me something to cling on to. And it'll open yourself up to whatever you can conjure at the time just to grab onto something.
I think your brain wants to make sense of things.
That's what it's trying to do.
Your brain wants to make, if you look up in the cloud and you see an elephant in a cloud, well, it's definitely not an elephant in the cloud. Your brain just wants to associate it with something that you're familiar with. And that goes with, pareidolia and paranormal photos. People see ghosts, and it's probably, a lens flare or a defect in the camera or smoke or something. It could be anything. But people see faces and they see bodies, and it's just
even right now, Brad Pitt, it's popular in the news. He's going through the problem with prosopagnosia. He can't remember faces anymore. It's the part of his brain. There's a part of your brain that triggers you to see faces in clouds and everything and recognize them everywhere. And his is now malfunctioned, and he can't recognize similar faces.
So Brad Pitt would be the person to show a paranormal photo to, and I would trust Brad Pitt.
Or a Bigfoot photo. He wouldn't see all those faces in the leaves. You'd really have to circle it for him. You'd have to do 3 red lines instead of the 1 red line around the face. But Tom, with your neuropsychology degree, you should be building a God helmet for Chris in your basement this weekend. What's going on there? Yeah, got the skill sets.
Yeah, I got other things you could probably eat or smoke that work just as good as a God helmet. I build it. It's already just pick it up off the ground and eat it. The work's done.
What about you, Jen? What about you? What's your thoughts on the God helmet? Since I know you probably have a take on it too.
Well, I haven't experienced it, so I don't really have much of a take, but I did find out, listening to a lot of Michael's talks that he had, he eventually started to believe. I mean, it totally switched. It wasn't that was the whole point of him doing it, was to prove something. But after a while, he had so many different experiences of other people and what they would see and stuff like that. And that's when it kind of opened up, where he was automatically kind of enlightened and thought, it's all one consciousness. And he kind of went to a different thought level after that. So
well, thanks for correcting me. I didn't know that.
Oh, well, I mean, that was his automatic. That was the reason why he did it. That was
initially. I didn't know he'd swung to the other side. Okay. That is fascinating. Goodness me. Well, tell us about your planned investigation tomorrow, fellas, because I know you're out to the spooky environs of Plainfield. So can you
Well,
tell us
Chris
a
is
little bit
going to
about
have to
what you
tell
do?
you because this is and Tom's coming too trip.
Yeah. Tom's just tagging along. I
Yeah.
guess. Well, we're headed to Plainfield, Wisconsin tomorrow, home of the famous Ed Gein. You might have heard of him. I don't know, maybe.
Mhm.
He's a kind of a famous Wisconsinite. I try to take a trip out there once every couple of years, just to kind of visit Ed's grave, some of his victims' graves, and just soak in the town. It's a very when you enter Plainfield, it's creepy. It has an atmosphere, just like you go into like a building that is haunted, or you know that there's something ominous there. So we're headed to Plainfield. We're going to visit Ed's grave, some of the graves of his victims, a couple other cemeteries in the area too that he frequented. Probably take a drive past his property. Just do some investigating there, do some EVP sessions in the grave, see what we can find out. And on the way back, interesting, we're going to swing by Appleton and we're going to visit the grave of Kate Blood in the Riverside Cemetery. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Kate Blood.
I might have read a reference in a Chad Lewis book or something. Is there a dare or something with that grave, or is there some?
There could be. So the mystery behind that grave is it seems to bleed. Red streaks show up on the tombstone for no rhyme or reason. So we're gonna go and check that out. See if we can't maybe find red
Chris,
streaks.
do we have a metal detector at all?
I do have a metal detector. Yeah.
Just to see if there's maybe iron in the stone that could be rusting.
Yeah, that's a possibility. The grave is located in a really strange location. It's Riverside Cemetery, so there's a river right next to it. And Kate's gravestone is so far removed from everybody else's grave. It's like down a path, like right next to the river. Like it's in a really strange location. I'm going to take a lot of pictures and video to kind of show people where it is.
Was she famous in life or just her gravestone?
No, just her gravestone. She died really young, like 22 years old. She was very young.
Like fantastic story about.
Oh, well, there's a lot of stories. I don't know what stories are true or not. But some people said she was a witch. Some people said that she was possessed by a demon. There's all kinds of stories. What the truth is, I don't know. She died in the 1800s, so there's really no solid evidence on anything.
Goodness.
Yeah, that's kind of past the witch craze too.
Yeah.
Well, I guess for the few people in the audience who don't know who Ed Gein is, of course, he's the real life serial killer who was the inspiration for the character in Psycho and Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre and a bunch of other well-known pop culture serial killers. But funnily enough, I was years ago when my daughter must have been only, I don't know, maybe 2 years old. I was playing in a playground with her and she was playing with another little girl. And I started talking to the mother, and the mother had been babysat when she was little by one of the children of one of the two known Guin victims. It was like, get out of here. So Wisconsin's a small world. You can bump into people. It's like 7 degrees of Ed Gein or 3 degrees of Ed Gein or something.
Yeah. My mom grew up in the town next to Plainfield in Waushara, Wisconsin when Ed was doing that. So it rocked the state.
Well, you've been close to another Wisconsin famous serial killer. Very close, Chris.
Oh yeah, me and Jeff, we go back. We're buds. I wasn't his type, thankfully.
What did you think of the Dahmer movie? I know you guys are like my friend Dahmer.
My friend Dahmer. My friend Dahmer was okay. I like that. There's there were 3 Dahmer movies that I know of. There was The Secret Life of Jeffrey Dahmer with Carl Crew, who was in Blood Diner. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but that came out like 6 months after the news story broke. So this was like a rushed direct to video, let's get this done in stores. That was terrible. That was a terrible movie. And then there was the one with Jeremy Renner, Dahmer. I don't know if you saw that.
That's the only one I saw.
That was the best Dahmer movie, I think. Jeremy Renner was really good as Jeff Dahmer.
Gosh, I seem to recall was there a TV movie or a straight to TV Dahmer story? I seem to have some vague it could be totally wrong. It's a vague recollection I have of watching some. Maybe it was just a TV reenactment I saw when I was a kid.
Yeah, it could be. I know the Secret Life of Jeffrey Dahmer, that was direct to video.
Oh, okay,
That was
maybe
back.
it went to TV in Australia then or something. Who knows?
Could be. Yeah, I know you Australians are really fascinated with serial killers, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, we don't have, of course, because our population is so small. We have people like Ivan Milat, who of course was the one part of the inspiration for the antagonist in the Wolf Creek movies and the Wolf Creek series. Who was this guy out there murdering backpackers and tourists. So that's pretty terrifying. But I think Wisconsin, perhaps because, at least this is my theory, and I'm sure I didn't coin it, but I think it has something to do with the brutal winters. Like I think it has driven particularly people like Guin, who was living rurally, back in the 50s and earlier, and what it would have been like to live in a farm in Wisconsin in those days. I mean, Lord only knows. And then of course there's not too far from where I am, there's Black River Falls, which is the town behind the film and the book Wisconsin Death Trip.
Mhm.
And it just lists all the craziness, like, people just going BS mad. And I suspect back then, because it talks mainly about cases in the late 19th century, I think, I can't imagine how people got through Wisconsin winters before there was electricity and before there was snow plows and before all these kind of conveniences. So I can only imagine people went like literally cabin fever crazy. And so no wonder they started eating each other.
Yeah, and Ed had his house had no electricity, even in, up to the 50s. He had no electricity. And all that his mother would let him read was the Bible. So that's all that he had. Didn't have a radio, just a Bible. So that's all he did.
Good grief. It's always a mystery how many people Gein killed as well, right? I think we know he killed 2, but then it's like, were there others? Did he really kill his brother or not kill his brother?
I think he did. Yeah. Of course, Henry Gein died in, what was that, 1944? Yeah, 1944. Ed and Henry were out burning brush. They were doing a controlled burn, and Henry disappeared. And Ed got the police, and Ed took the police right where Henry was, like as if Ed knew right where he was laying. Evidence is pretty strong that Ed did kill his brother.
Gosh. And the thing about him is he lived kind of to a ripe old age, right? Like in a hospital for the criminally insane or something.
He lived to 77 years old. He died in 1984. So he was an old man.
Gosh, I wonder if he ever got to watch Psycho and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or if they kept those away from him.
Can't imagine.
It's me on screen. I know who that is. You stole my story.
Yeah, I think Ed would have liked to see those. I think he would have gotten a kick out of them.
Because Robert Bloch, who was the author of Psycho, he was a Wisconsin author, right? Like I think he came from not too far from Plainfield.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not sure where, but he was close to it.
I think the real problem with Wisconsin winters is the winters that just hang on, because we can be done with winter in March, but we can have a winter hang on till the end of May.
Yeah. And
it's those like unsuspecting extra months that can, like, we should be out of this by now, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I've been snowed in here in like April. I've had like 5-6 feet of snow, and it's like I can't open, my garage doors. I can't get down my driveway. My puny little snow blower is incapable of cutting through the snow. And it's like, I thought winter was done. Just like you were saying, this is like something out of a, The Shining. I'm snowed in. It's April. What on earth? So no.
Yeah, the older I get, the less I like Wisconsin winters. I just can't stand them anymore.
Maybe Milwaukee Dreams needs to become, I don't know, Tampa Dreams Film Festival, or I don't know, Arizona or somewhere in the heat. So how's that going this year? Because we don't talk as much as we should offline about that. We all run film festivals. So how's your submissions going? I know it's closed now. Are you guys starting a program and get ready for the day?
We're plugging through, watching all the submissions. We've got 30 days, right, Tom? Exactly 30 days from today.
30 days from today, yes. Whoa. And it is nerve-wracking.
Yeah. So a lot of films, a lot of really good films. It always surprises me every year when I see these just amazing independent films come in with some just terrific performances, well-written. Just it never ceases to amaze me. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Oh, yeah, I'm always. Sometimes I'm actually staggered that I get to world premiere films. I'm like, why is this world premiere? I mean, I think Midwest Weird Fest is great, but I think, why isn't this, in Sundance or somewhere? This film's so great. How do I get the world premiere of this film?
Yeah, it's really a shame that some of those films don't get noticed more. They really deserve it, and Sundance really should. I think that Sundance should really do like a strange movie, a horror movie block. They really should give more love to horror movies.
Well, I think their problem is they have like a midnight program or something, don't they? But you look at it and you can say, okay, here's a Rob Zombie film. Here's the new film from this production company. Here's this star vehicle with Nicolas Cage. Mm-hmm. And you can just look at them and know none of these were cold submissions. These were all either offered to them by studios, or they were filmmakers they'd screened before that they've wanted to continue that relationship with, or it's going to be the new buzz film. So they do it. But I always look at the programs of any film festival, but particularly at the genre space, which I'm more cognizant of. And when I look at the big festivals, I'm like, you didn't program one of those from a cold submission. Everything. It's so corrupt. It makes me sad to see big festivals get, thousands and thousands of submissions, make hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's just like a tax on stupidity. It's like the lottery. It's like people buying a lottery ticket thinking they're going to win. It's the same as submitting to Sundance cold. You think you're going to get in, you might as well play the lottery. Spend that submission fee on the lottery. You probably got the same chance.
Exactly. Yeah. We've got the Milwaukee Film Festival here. It's a big international film festival. It's really big, supposedly. I don't know. I haven't talked to people outside of Milwaukee about it, but they have a program called Cinema Hooligante, which is supposed to be like horror movies, strange movies, just midnight movies, right? It's like 2 years ago. They had a really just a shitty block of films, and they had Who Framed Roger Rabbit in that block. And I thought, why is that in Cinema Hooligante? Why is that? I don't know. So yeah, I don't get it.
I mean, I get the desire to have, to sell out your cinemas and to have things which are going to be, buzzy and people pleasing, but there has to be a balance in between. There has to be a way of doing the new Rob Zombie movie or the new David Cronenberg movie, but also going through your cold submissions and going, okay, we reserve 5 blocks or however many slots for feature filmmakers that are just cold submitting. So we really launch these people who have no industry contacts above, their kind of very indie level. And that'd be a far healthier screen culture. That would be a far healthier way to curate a big film festival, but that's not how big film festivals are curated.
I don't even think we could do that in a small one. It's hard to do it that way.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of if you decide if you've got an operating protocol. I'm very we're probably all involved in film, but I try to maintain Midwest Weird Fest at a 90% cold submission screening rate. Like 90% of what I screen at Midwest Weird Fest is cold submissions. Now I'm lucky I get an awful lot of submissions, and it's something I introduced back when I ran a night of horror in Australia. Then I had a 50% cutoff was my guaranteed amount of cold, like 50% of the slots were reserved for cold submissions, but it was always more than that. That was just my baseline. Like it was probably much closer to, depending on the year, 60 to 75%. Just because I've always believed in trying to support, the indie scene. Not because I'm this great philanthropist, but it interests me more. I'm more interested in seeing independent stuff and discovering independent stuff. If I want to see a movie that's going to be at the Megaplex in 2 weeks' time, I'm probably not going to go to a film festival. Now, that doesn't mean I've never played a movie that's at the Megaplex in 2 weeks' time, but I try not to make that, like a Sundance program where it's all something that's going to be on Netflix or Prime or, it's guaranteed to be out within a few months. It doesn't seem like a festival to me. It just seems silly.
Yeah, I think we're usually at about a 90-95% cold submissions.
That's great. That's the way it should be, man.
Yeah.
If everybody did it like that, everybody be doing it right.
I mean, yeah, the first couple of years it was 100%. Everything was just cold submissions.
Yeah, it tends to shift as you go along because you'll see something you want, or you have alumni contact you who have since done something bigger, and you're like, okay, I want to do that film from you. I've had a relationship with you for 10 years, so I'm keen to see how you've grown. So yeah, that definitely.
Something that we do is we offer all of our alumni free submissions. If you want to submit in the next year, do it for free.
Yeah, I do this. I do the same. I don't advertise it, but I let
Yeah.
every alumni know.
Right.
You know, just reach out. So
Yeah.
I think that's a healthy way of doing it. Do you guys do paranormal documentaries and stuff as well, or is it primarily just horror narrative?
No, we'll definitely do paranormal documentaries. Matter of fact,
awesome.
Steve and I hosted the Paranormal Film Festival a couple years for the Milwaukee Paranormal Conference here.
Wow, that's great.
Something that we might revisit, but that was almost all paranormal documentaries, both shorts and features. That was a good time.
What have you guys seen recently? Not even at the festival level, but what have you seen in our kind of paranormal space, either as a film doco or as a TV series, which really jumps out at you?
So there's a really good documentary. I think it was called "Don't Blame the House" or "It's Just a House." It's do you remember the story about the grandma that killed her boarders? People renting rooms, the grandma would kill them.
I don't know. Do you know that story, Jen? You're kind of au fait with that kind of stuff.
Yes, I've seen that. That's a really good documentary. I've seen that.
Yeah, that one I saw recently. That one really stands out. That was really good.
Yeah.
Don't Blame the House, something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but I do remember that was a crazy story.
It was, yeah. So anyway, what it was about is people. The house is now like a tourist attraction. People want to come by and see the house, and the people that live there now are just like, hey, we just want to live a normal life. It's just a house.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's nothing here, but there's a lot of paranormal claims in there. And the lady, she buried all the bodies in the yard. Mm-hmm. So the people had to like completely cement over the yard, or they redid the yard where it doesn't look familiar.
Mothman 46 just said, have Chris and Tom look into the Cleveland torso murders. You guys aware of the Cleveland torso murders?
No.
I'm not either. Well, there you go. There's something to look into. Are you aware of that, Jen?
No.
No, neither am I.
Haven't heard of it.
I've never heard of it either.
Torso murders.
So what other paranormal? What have you seen in any Tom or Jen? Have you seen anything in the paranormal space lately, doco wise, which has really stood out?
I've only talked to. Now I'm going to forget his name, but recently I talked to the person who is doing the Lake Michigan Mothman. Tobias Wayland.
Tobias Wayland.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's the only thing because I had a Mothman story, and I talked to him for a little bit.
Gosh, tell us the Moth. You can't just throw that out there. You've had a Mothman story. Tell us the Mothman story.
All right. Well, it was 15, 20 years ago now, and my friend Jen and I were walking in Jackson, Wisconsin, and it was new construction road. Road wasn't paved or anything, and buildings were going up, and we were just walking, and in a construction site, I heard, it's like 11 o'clock at night, I heard a radio playing, and I'm like, one of these construction crew guys forgot the radio. You know what? I work construction. I'm going to go grab this radio. They should have. So the music just gets louder and louder as I get close to the house, and I see something way straight down the road, and the music gets to a point where like I have to start backing away and covering my ears, and it's Tom Petty Free Fallin' is playing, and the music is just blasting, and I see something down there, and my friend says run, and I run, and we're running to get back to the car, and I just seen no flapping of the wings. It was like somebody was holding an action figure. It just went in front of us, like from behind, around the side of us, in front, and landed in a tree up in front of us. And we had to walk like as far away from the side of the road, because there was woods on the side, as we could to go. And we saw it like two red eyes kind of turn its head. We booked it again, and it was crazy. So that's kind of like the Mothman. We didn't even know what it was, but it was like right around the time, I guess, Richard Gere came out with a movie, and everybody's like, that's what it is. So I never heard of Mothman until after looking up what the heck did I just see. or we just saw. So I'm
Mhm.
glad I was with my friend Jen to back it up. Otherwise, I don't tell that story, you know.
Yeah.
I've never met this Jen. Does she really exist?
Yep. Accountant Jen. She's been on the show. Don't worry, Chris. I'll introduce you.
All right.
I think that's one of the things too, when those stories are always, as yours is, even more interesting when there isn't that kind of social contagion. Like when a story busts out, like we had obviously the Chicago Mothman stories a number of years ago, and when it starts to get mainstream media coverage, you begin to wonder how much of this is a sighting of something really anomalous, or is how much of this is people who are expecting to see something weird and they look up and it's something more prosaic, but because they've heard the story, then they kind of project their ideas of weirdness on it. But to hear you tell a story about a Mothman type entity before Mothman was known to you, and certainly obviously nowhere near as social prominent, you're right. When I was into the Mothman prophecies book before that film, nobody knew what Mothman was outside of the UFO community. People would have looked at you and thought you were talking about some Batman villain or something. They wouldn't have known of it as a well-known cryptid that had this big throw all over the United States. So I'm always interested to hear stories before the social contagion. They're far more interesting.
Yeah, and what the gentleman, I believe Tobias, was telling me is, I didn't know that a lot of Mothman like always has something to do with radios of the car or electronics. And he's like, it was really weird that the radio that probably wasn't on or plugged in just turned on and was playing and then got louder and louder. Because we went back with my dad and her husband and everyone later. They wanted to see it there, and radio wasn't on, nothing around the road, nothing around.
It had phased back into whatever realm Mothman comes from, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you see the Mothman Prophecies movie after that? What did you think of that film?
It had the right color for the eyes, is what I remember. The eyes were really good. Kind of like, and I know people are like, it looks like reflectors, but when it's up in the air and sitting there, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you have any other strange experiences, like in the immediate follow, like in the next week or the next 2 weeks? Did anything else strange?
Oh yeah, I walked around stupid, like monsters. Okay, that's you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just my parents really. That's really why I got into psychology. Santa isn't real. They dropped that bomb on me, and then they said monsters aren't real, and then I find out those are. You just don't know who to trust anymore.
They lied to you, Tom, on both counts. Santa is
Both
real,
count.
and monsters are real.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Got me.
So when did your parents tell you that Santa wasn't real? How old were you?
You know what? 27? I was coming out of it at like 5 or 6, right? And then my mom took me to Milwaukee, and I'm kind of like, all right, I'm getting on to it. My friends and I are all figuring out. We were eating, and there was a professional Santa Claus and a professional Santa Claus wife just having lunch there, kind of dressed up. They kept the beer around. I went up there. They told me they were on vacation. They played into it. My mom played into it. I went back to my friends. I'm like, it's settled, dude. I met him. I know. I'm the hero. This is all real. They hooked me for 4 years, and then it was like, man, everybody just plays into it. Nobody said a word. They just let this happen.
Mm-hmm.
You felt betrayed.
Yeah, and everybody's in on it for no good reason. Why do you even play along with it? Why do you play along? I don't want to talk about it.
No, this was going to bring up so many bad memories, Tom.
I was sure he was real after I met him.
Probably control you better, because then they would say, Tom, if you don't behave yourself, I'm not coming.
Yeah,
my kids.
Exactly.
My son's 28, and I still do that to him.
It's the manifestation of the Christmas spirit. That's what you have to remember. It's real.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, speaking about Santas in stores, I should say hello to my stepfather in Australia who's watching, Alan. He was a Santa for a while after he retired. He did a couple of stints as a mall Santa. So it's
I was-
I used to dress as Santa every Christmas in my 20s. I used to think it was hilarious. There weren't even any kids around. I used to think it was hilarious to be at
Yeah,
the
you
family
do.
event dressed as Santa. It's probably hilarious for me because I was probably 3 sheets to the wind on, half a case of beer and a couple of, bourbons before I even donned on the suit. But
I
yeah.
did the Santa thing for a while. I made some good cheddar.
Yeah, but how is that not canceled? Every parent wants that to be canceled because they're like $100 a photo.
Well,
You got to go sit on a stranger's lap. How are we not canceling this in 2022? And paying $100 to put your kid on a stranger's lap.
It's a lot of work doing that as a Santa. It's not fun.
It's not
Like,
$100 a photo worth.
Well, you get some little kid that pisses on your lap and tell me it's not worth $100. I did the Easter bunny thing
It's
too.
just
for a little...
pee,
Oh, wow.
dude. It's pee. It's fine.
He's
He's not even gross, man. It's not even gross.
Well, some of these kids pee battery acid, so I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I mean, if they snot on you, that's one thing. That's gross, but I'll handle the
Ed
pee.
says that he was a magical Santa for a while. My dad was a magician, and he did Santa, Easter bunny, all kinds of costume characters. So yeah, we did that for a while. Too long.
Yeah, I've never done it professionally. I've only done it for the drunken sport of it.
Apparently, yeah, just for the heck of it.
20s.
I got a Santa Claus costume in my basement. I can just go put that on. I should podcast.
You know what? You should when you do your Christmas special. I think Jen and I normally wear at Christmas, like, we have lights around and we have normally I don't know, you might wear, I know I wear a Santa hat, but you wear similar, like, antlers or
a silly
something.
hat or something. Yeah.
No,
Christmas lights around my neck. That kind of
I think
stuff.
that's half the fun. But hey, you didn't say what show, speaking of paranormal shows, to rewind a minute, you never said what paranormal show, Jen, that you thought was hot at the moment or which has caught your attention, because I know you watch more paranormal TV than most people I know.
Well, I mean, I watch a lot of series. I watch a lot of YouTubers and stuff that's on Discovery Plus. But as for documentaries, there's a new one out. I haven't watched it yet, but it's, you're familiar with the Welpens. So they did another one of The House in Between. So there's a number 2, and I still have yet to see that one, but I hear it's got a lot of good reviews.
Yeah. Have you guys seen The House in Between 1? I haven't seen the second one yet, but did you see the first one? Yeah, it's pretty good. Who's the guy he was like a Ghost Adventures guy as one of them? I know the Welptons do it, but who's the other?
Ghost Hunters. So it's Steve Gonsalves, if I can say the last name correctly, but yeah, he's one of the very first, ghost hunters from, the series. So
and the Bullards too. The Bullards too do it, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, they're good movies. You guys would enjoy them, I think. If you, especially you, Chris, because I know you're into paranormal investigation stuff. I'm sure you would too, Tom. Particularly Chris.
Yeah, I think I would be.
Between.
I think I would be best friends with Jack Osborne, so I watch a lot of him. And
I
like him so much that I make Chris dress just like him because I can't be friends with the real Jack Osborne. So I gave Chris that outfit he's wearing right now.
Yeah,
is this true, Chris?
He has a new series out too.
Don't make me bring up your film history.
Mm-hmm.
What's the new? There's a new Osborne series on the paranormal as well. Jen, were you saying?
the Jay and Silent Bob, the guy who played Jay.
Yeah.
They have a new Bigfoot show, and I've been watching that. That just came out on Discovery Plus. It's actually quite interesting. Yeah, it's really comical too because they got Jay on there. But
yeah, that new Expedition Bigfoot is really good too.
Yeah, it is.
I haven't seen that either.
They got a lot of good shows on that channel.
On the Discovery Channel, is this the Travel?
Discovery Plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Travel, which also has nothing but paranormal shows on it.
When they were working on shows for Discovery Plus, they were doing a really big push for paranormal shows. Really big push. Like I was involved, probably at least 6 or 7 of them.
And he told everybody, every chance he told that he couldn't talk about them.
Oh,
I was almost a Captain Ghost Hunters. I was like the top 8.
really?
Wow.
Yeah, I was just one push away. But I was going through cancer at the time, and I had chemo, and it was rough. And like the schedule, you're away 3 weeks filming, you're home 3 weeks, you're away 3 weeks filming. I couldn't do it. So my final screen test was over Zoom, and I just wasn't feeling it. So I kind of bombed my last screen test, but I was almost there.
Yeah.
Well, there's always a chance for another one.
There's
come
always
around.
there's
Absolutely.
always something going on. I'm always getting emails for casting calls for new paranormal shows. If there's going to be a new streaming service, there's at least 12 paranormal shows in the works for it.
Oh yeah, there's always something in the works.
I love those. I do enjoy some of those celebrity paranormal shows. I was only talking to Jen about it the other day. I was also talking to Doug Hychek about it because we're about to jump to the Untold Radio Network, which is Doug Hychek, the Monster Quest creator and producer's new kind of brainchild, this podcast consortium. So we're super excited. But so I've talked to both Doug and Jen about it in the last week. One of my favorite paranormal shows of all time. Maybe my favorite just for the fun value. Like, it doesn't have the same value as a Monster Quest or of In Search Of or something, but it's just fun, is the Low Files. I love the Low Files. Like, I want a season 2 of that show. Did you guys ever watch the Low Files?
I believe so. Yeah.
I am not sure. I need to be refreshed on it.
It's just a wonderful conceit. Like every episode used to start with Rob Lowe going, when my boys were little, we used to go and look for Bigfoot.
Oh, Rob Lowe Files.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, Rob Lowe. All right.
It was just a fun feel, and then they'd crank up the Don't Fear the Reaper music.
The Reaper, yeah.
It was just such like exploitative is the wrong word, but exploitative for the sense that the opening credits were so exciting. It was a Rob Lowe vehicle, and it was always they were after Sasquatch in one and ghosts in another, and then UFO bases. It was just this. I don't know. And obviously, they were never going to find anything. Not that any of these shows really ever do, but it was just fun. I can't wait. I want another season. I saw recently Rob Lowe. When I say recently, I guess in the last 6 months, him answering questions on like some YouTube thing, and him saying he's really trying to get the Low Files season 2 back. So that's my I'm waiting for that. That'll be my next big paranormal show excitement. What about Hellier? Have you guys seen the Hellier series 1 or 2, the Newkirk show?
Oh, you're missing out. That's good stuff.
Do a Hellier pitch, Jen, so I don't have to do it.
A Hellier pitch.
Yeah, tell them what the show's about.
Well, oh gosh. Now I got to go back and think what the first one was even about. I mean, it starts off where they get a letter from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It had to do with down in Kentucky. What was the happenings with the little green guys, the goblins?
Yeah.
What was the name of that one?
Well, it was like the Hopkinsville goblins, but it wasn't.
Yeah, it's escaping me. Yeah.
It was nearby.
Yeah.
And that guy.
So
you go.
They kind of went on a hunt with it because the guy sent them a letter because he was experiencing them at his house. So the guy was, sending them emails back and forth. And so somehow they just decided, well, let's just go down there and film this, maybe we'll catch something. And then after that, it was just a big conspiracy because they never could find the guy, but the guy would constantly contact them. So it was just like this huge mystery and chase. And then they got off on what is that book? The Euphonauts, the numbers.
The Secret Cipher of the Euphonauts by Alan.
Yeah. So then that got involved in it. So it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And they eventually used the God helmet. So it's just, they've got 3 of them. So
have they done
they're working on the third one.
Oh, okay. They've done 2 seasons. Yeah, it's Greg and
the third one out yet.
It's Greg and Dana Newkirk, I guess, are the main kind of protagonists.
Connor Randall and
it's very different to any other paranormal series because there's this kind of meta narrative which goes across the 2 seasons, and it's not like 1 week they're searching here for a Bigfoot and the next week they're searching somewhere else for a Bigfoot, or 1 week they're doing ghosts and 1 week they're doing Bigfoot. It's them traveling down this never-ending rabbit hole of high strangeness for 2 seasons. So it's very different too, and it's shot really well by Carl Pfeiffer, who's the DOP. Yeah. We did one of the episodes at Midwest Weird Fest, I think 3 years ago, and Carl Pfeiffer and Greg Newkirk came out. I think you guys would really dig it. Just as an alternative paranormal show, it's not really like anything else that's out there. It's definitely worth taking a look at. And I think it used to be free on Prime. I think it's free on YouTube now, isn't it? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, check out.
Yeah, you can see all of it on YouTube.
Let's check it out.
Yeah, definitely.
Here we go. Mothman 46 just said, Hellier pitch in one word,
Yes,
synchronicity.
synchronicity. That's
Yeah.
all. That's all. Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. That's a
That
that's
word
a
is
better
used
that's a
how many
better pitch
times?
than mine was. So there you go.
There you go.
There you go. So what other paranormal investigations you guys got planned in the near future other than the big Guin weekend as of tomorrow? Got anything else on the
Well,
radar?
we're still trying to figure out what's going on at Tom's house.
Oh.
Did you explain what's going on at your house, Tom? Why don't
Just
you
a little, but not fully, yeah.
Not fully. When we first moved in, we recently bought this house. It was built what we thought was 1924 and found out it was much earlier.
Yeah.
But just noises. It started as noises, and it would only be me. Like the first day we move in, I hear footsteps. Molly's my girlfriend. She's asleep. Next night I'm hearing stuff dragging across our hardwood floors, and I'm freaking out.
Mhm.
And no one's there, nothing. And I keep asking her, are you hearing anything? You seeing anything? Cabinet doors, I come home, all open. Just only when I come home first, something will be, so I can't be like, here's pictures, and then people will be like, well, you just did that. No one
Yeah.
else was home. There's no way to, funny, it only
Mhm.
happens to you. And it was driving me wild, like
Yeah.
insane. And then thank God it finally started doing stuff to her.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh,
I'm sure she didn't feel that way.
well, she had it coming. I think she just had some defense mechanism up of, I don't want to live in a haunted house. I don't want the first house I bought to be haunted. I don't want this problem. And
Yeah.
it really kept the energy away from her. And I didn't have that. And I was
Yeah.
like, hey, if I'm going to flick this cigarette butt in the basement, if there's a bucket of rags or something down there, so be it. Let's get out of the house. And
Gosh.
one day
Right.
it pinned her to the floor. Like, she's 100 pounds. I flip her around. We're going to bed. Body slam on the bed. I do that. She was like sucked to the floor like a magnet, holding her to the ground. I could not get her up, and she couldn't
Goodness.
fight me like that. That's when it was like, we really got to call some people in.
Mhm.
Are you guys documenting it? Are you making a film about it? Because I know you said the investigation's ongoing, but is there a film happening?
That anybody wants to investigate it, we're really kind of staying away from it. Like, just do it. Chris is involved in it. Chris and Crossing Guard Paranormal, but what is that? The fourth team that's been in there all said it was
Like
the
that, yeah.
craziest.
You're skipping out on the most interesting thing, in my opinion.
Oh, okay, go
The
ahead.
chest that you found in the
Mhm.
attic. So they found this chest in the attic from the previous owner, and they open it up, and it was like personal items, like a baptism candle, baby items, and they called the number that they found there. Is that right, Tom? There was a number.
No, I found the name on the baptism
You found the
candle,
name.
and then
And
I
you called-
found the kid on Facebook.
Found the kid. He's the
Oh.
early 20s. So Tom
Mhm.
calls him up and said, "Hey, I got your stuff here. Do you want to come and get it?" And the kid's like, "Oh yeah, I'll come on this day." And that day came, and the kid never showed up. And I guess what was a couple days later, the kid's dad shows up, and he's like, "Hey, can I get my son's stuff? He was just killed in a car accident."
Get out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we found out that the kid was going crazy when they lived in the house, like talking to the ceiling up in the air, kind of losing his mind.
Yeah, their basement is really a strange basement, and this kid just spray painting glow in the dark paint everywhere in just the weirdest places. It's very strange. It's very, very strange.
Mhm.
Strange walking paths and stuff.
Yeah.
Gosh. Are you finding that the more you said a number of teams have been through there, are you finding that the investigations, because I know this is something Jen talks about, are the investigations making the place more active, like is engaging with
We're
it?
lucky enough that we moved back in with my parents, and we just pretty much manage the property now and don't live there. So,
Gosh.
Yeah, when I was there with Crossing Guard Paranormal, we were doing a paranormal investigation there that night. Just by happenstance, the old owners showed up to the house and paid a visit.
Oh, really?
Just out of the blue, right? So I think they're like
Yep.
stalking you. I think they're watching you. and they saw that there was a paranormal investigation going on. And they wanted
Oh, you think they're the ones behind everything? They want
because
the
I think that the guy murdered people and buried them in the yard, and he doesn't want you finding the bodies.
Oh, and I was thinking about a pool.
You were thinking about a pool. No, but that was strange. They showed up just out of the blue, and we
that is
moved along
strange.
on the investigation, and they had experiences of their own before they sold the house.
We just had David ask, has anybody tried to exorcise the house?
Supposedly in a weekend or two, Chris. When are you guys coming?
Soon, yeah. Well, so we're seeing Paranormal has an exorcist that they were going to get involved, but I don't think he's comfortable doing.
Yeah, it was their guy did not want to go do my house.
No. So yeah, short answer to your question is no. We can't find anybody that will do the
I think the Crossing Guard Paranormal are going to do something to get rid of it in a weekend or two. We'll see.
Yeah. Are they?
Okay. We'll see.
Have you tried to do anything else? Like, what kind of things, Jen, would you tell them to do? Because I know you do. Not exorcisms, but you do. Like, don't you? Like, I know what you guys do.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they've probably already done it. I mean, I don't know
ritual.
anything about exorcism, but a lot of people just have little rituals they do for protection themselves.
I'll let Tom handle that. Tom has like 100 little crucifixes all over the house. It's like, where's Waldo? But it's find the crucifix. He's got all these little crucifixes.
Crucifixes, crystals. I'll throw the whole thing at it.
And the house is down near Milwaukee somewhere. David just asked where it was.
Grafton, Wisconsin.
Yeah, Grafton, Wisconsin. Very hard to find history in that area. The town doesn't want to talk about it. Now that the famous Grafton Hotel is turned into condos, that's gone. The old jazz bar is haunted. The Arts Mill is haunted. Our studio at the North Shore Academy of the Arts is famously haunted. Very famous haunted area, and the historical societies don't talk about it.
Coyote Peterson will clear it out. Yeah. Did you see that post that he made about the Bigfoot recently? Man, that made me mad. That made me mad. I watched the video. Man.
Well, he was. I suppose he did say it was just in the show itself, he makes clear that they're just doing a kind of reenactment thing, but to post parts of it on TikTok or whatever he did, then it's going to be like the internet. I know my Facebook blew up. I'm assuming everybody else's did as well.
Yeah. He made a Facebook post and he didn't lead on that it was fake or anything like that. He said that it was legit, and in the video, he makes it clear that it's a what if scenario. So just clickbait.
Absolutely. I think that's the case of so much paranormal stuff though. So much of anything today is clickbait. But you were talking about that area having all kinds of hauntings. Is there, other than the obvious, not necessarily obvious, but the expected ghost or spirit type hauntings, is it like a window area, or is there more activity of, I don't know, UFO sightings or other things?
It's the perfect pit stop for the mafia. It is halfway from the Chicago mafia's up north places. Grafton is the stop off to rest point. So we have a lot of like international jazz clubs, just like little half points, when the cars drove like crap back then. So if you got to get out of Chicago, boom, Grafton is halfway to you're up north.
Maybe it's a pit stop for Mothman as well. Other cryptids.
Yeah. I don't know. It's all around Lake Michigan with the Mothman sightings lately. A lot at O'Hare Airport.
Have you ever heard? Yeah, that's true. There's a bunch near O'Hare. Have you ever, Chris might have, I don't know if Tom has. Have you ever heard of I'm sure you've heard Dr. Destruction tell about the Fishman sighting down your way?
Yep. The Kenosha Fishman. It was a elderly couple that saw, they swear they saw a fish man, a gill man, a real creature from the Black Lagoon.
Wow.
Of course, they didn't have a cell phone with a camera on them at the time, so
yeah,
they didn't get pictures.
Even though I live in Wisconsin, my knowledge of much of the state, particularly the southern part, isn't that fantastic. Is your place, Tom, near, say, Bray Road? How far is it from a place like Bray Road? Is it?
Oh, we're probably like an hour and 15 minutes from
so it's not
that area. No.
Okay.
No, we're right on the main highway that goes from Green Bay through Milwaukee to Chicago. We're right off that highway.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they're 30, 45 minutes north of Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
And just quickly, because it's something I wanted to ask you, Chris, and I didn't even get to ask you beforehand. I know we mentioned Dr. Destruction, who you do a couple of shows with, which we talked about in the intro, and I've been fortunate enough to be on his radio programs over the years. There's a documentary being filmed about him. I think you're the producer. Can you just tell the audience a little bit about Dr. Destruction and that doco? Because he is one of my favorite horror hosts in the country.
Yeah, so Dr. Destruction, he's been on the air for 21 years now, mostly cable access down in the Kenosha area, but now we're worldwide. We're on VPod TV, which has a Roku channel, and they're online, vpodtv.com. 21st year. Yeah, a long time. He's being inducted into the Worldwide Horror Host Radio and Television Hall of Fame. I think that's how you say it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's being inducted with, I think, Vampira and Orson Welles and all these other luminaries of horror hosts.
Wow.
Yeah, very, very exciting. And we're working on a documentary, specifically the documentaries about Kenosha area horror hosts, because Kenosha, which is a county in the very southeastern tip of Wisconsin, it's like an epicenter of horror hosts. There's like 5 horror hosts located in Kenosha, and that's what the documentary is about. It's about all these horror hosts, and it's got this documentary's got so many ups and downs. You know, we've got the ups of Dr. Destruction being inducted in a Hall of Fame, and the downs of the death of one of the horror hosts. Just a couple weeks after we got an interview with Kurt Meyer, Dead Year Winter, he passes away from COVID. So it's a lot of ups and downs, but it's going to be a good documentary. Really interesting and fascinating about horror host history in Wisconsin.
Man, I'd love to see it. You'll have to make sure I get a copy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no doubt.
Love to watch it. Yeah, the Dr. Destruction is one of the real heroes of independent, not just horror stuff, but like culture in this country. There needs to be more people like Dr. Destruction who just push, our interest in that kind of alternative old horror programming and the like. It's so much better than anything you get on mainstream, cable TV. All that stuff's so boring. I'd much rather, see this kind of stuff that Dr. Destruction and you do.
Yeah, I agree. And his knowledge on old horror films is second to none. He is a walking encyclopedia of like classic black and white horror films. If you have a Godzilla question, he will have it. You can have the most obscure Godzilla question. He will know it.
Man, I'm feeling so guilty now. I've never had him on Talking Weird. I got to get him on soon. We're getting him on, Jen. Remind me to Dr. Destruction. But hey, you guys were so much fun to have on. Let's get you guys back someday in the not too distant future either. Can you throw out some URLs or some ways? Because you guys both do so much stuff. Let our audience know how they can check out what you're up to.
And sure. Absolutely. If you want to check out the Milwaukee Twisted Dreams Film Festival, you can check us out online, twisteddreamsff.com, twisteddreamsfilmfestival.com. Check out the Pop Culture Podcast on Facebook and YouTube. Tom, what are your links?
Go ahead. Make sure you. That's what we do together.
Harry Tom.
Just check out Pop Culture Podcast. Make sure you go see Twisted Dreams. I'll also be at the Milwaukee Paranormal Conference Saturday, October 15th. I'll be given a breakout session about Byron Priest's The Secret, talking about treasure in Milwaukee. The treasure. Woo, there's treasure in Milwaukee.
Just quickly, we did a documentary at Midwest Weird Fest on The Secret by what's his name? Is it
Byron Priest?
Yeah, that's the book, but the documentarian is it Jeremy? Is it Renner? I always mispronounce his name, but it's a fascinating documentary. Like he's going around looking for these, I forgot there was one in Milwaukee. That'll be a fantastic talk you're doing. I'd love to get down there and hear it. Do you think you know where it is?
I have a new dig spot, but you're not allowed to dig in Milwaukee, but so let's just say
we've been out digging. We had to be very clandestine.
The name of it is If I Dig It.
Hey, just
kind of like OJ's If I Did It.
Just before we go, tell people quickly what The Secret's about, because I had no idea till I saw that documentary 3 or 4 years ago. I never heard about the book. I knew nothing about the cult kind of following of it.
It's basically a children's novel about the fae folk, fairy people, and their journey over humans and them basically interacting and leaving. So when the Fae couldn't live with the humans anymore, all their tribes where they were kind of came over, and they left a jewel in certain cities from certain areas. And you get a poem and a picture, and you have to figure out through the poem, through the picture, what city, where the location is, what they're talking about, into an exact dig spot. If you find the dig spot, it's an all ceramic cask, and it has a key on the inside, and you take that to New York and they give you a jewel. And it is also rumored that when all 12 casks are found, there's paintings on the inside, and there is a 13th treasure supposedly, but we'll probably never get to that one.
And this book came out decades ago, and there's still people still haven't found half the treasures, right?
And only 3 have been found.
Huh.
They're fairly certain on a couple that are on private property or places that have been turned into highways now, that are places that are gone at 40 years. And Milwaukee has some bummer clues because they talk about birch trees in the poem, and young birch trees. Good luck from 1980.
Gosh. Yeah, we could do a whole episode because it's fascinating. It's James Renner, I think, is the author. He's a true crime podcast guy as well, of the guy who did the documentary I'm talking about. I could talk. I don't know much about it, but I'm just fascinated that a children's book, which was like this real life treasure hunt, and the author did such an incredible job hiding these things, or maybe a terrible job hiding them. Nobody could find them.
He hated himself. He thought it was too easy. And he thought it would be a race to it by the end of summer. He thought they'd all be found.
Gosh.
40 years later, we can't do it. It's easy when you're writing the clues. It's not easy to get in someone else's head.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for coming on, guys. It was a great joy to have you both finally on the show.
Thank you very much. It was awesome. Nice to meet you
until we
both.
chat again, guys, make sure to keep it weird.
Yeah.
We will.
Thank you for joining us tonight. If you're interested in checking out more episodes, you can find us at talkingweird.com. If you haven't already, please like the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Talking Weird Podcast. Make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing to Talking Weird. We're available on most podcast platforms and YouTube. And if you do enjoy the show, please leave us a review. Dean and I would really appreciate it. Until then, stay safe and keep it weird.